member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and Utah senator who at one point in his career efforted two bills to actually prevent a mess like this, Senator John Curtis. Senator, thank you very much. It's great to see you, sir.
Tom, thank you, and good morning. You know, this is actually my first time on your show, first time on Newsmax, so big deal for me.
Well, welcome, Senator. Thank you very much for making the time for us. In 2019, you were in the House. You introduced the Government Shutdown Prevention Act and the No Work, No Pay Act. It didn't go anywhere, but there were certainly very good ideas. But, Senator, talk to us about how we got here this time around.
Well, first, thanks for the shout out on my bills. I'll just say the first bill was No Work, No Pay, which says, hey, look, if we're shut down, there's no way Congress should be paid. And myself and a lot of my colleagues actually submit a letter to the clerk and say, please withhold our pay, but not all of them. And I think that's really important. The second bill actually changes the way we appropriate. And as you know, this Budget Act went into place in 1974. We've actually done our appropriations on time 4 times since 1974. It's clearly a broken system. People say you should just stay there and work harder. Well, you can work as hard as you want, and if the system's broken, you're still not going to get it done.
Well, one of the biggest problems with the system, of course, Senator, is that Washington does far more than it was ever expected to do, and so you know it's hard to get everybody to come together and to try to put these budgets together. Senator, I want to play for you Democrat leader Chuck Schumer, this is a few years back, talking about government shutdowns. Watch.
Right.
What if I persuaded my caucus to say I'm going to shut the government down? I'm going to not pay our bills unless I get my way. It's a politics of idiocy, of confrontation, of paralysis.
Policy of idiocy. What happened to this guy and his conference?
Well, yeah, we all know exactly what happened. It happened last March. He got his socks blown off him because he voted for the CR. And I think this current shutdown we're in started last March. I think Mr. Schumer needs a shutdown to deal with his base, and that was predetermined last March. And we're seeing really the silliest reasons for the shutdowns. How ironic is this? They're demanding that we shut the government down so that we can demand that we use the government more.
You know, the longer this goes on, it could cost the economy, though. The economy up to about $7 billion a week in lost revenue. But there could also be an upside here. On Thursday, the president met with the Office of Management and Budget Director, Russ Vought, who he said that, yeah, you know, look, we should be looking at temporary or permanent spending cuts as part of all of this. Do you think that the threat of their public employees unions getting the brunt of the and their favorite programs getting the brunt of the blowback here could actually force the Democrats to end this?
Well, I'm surprised the Democrats didn't factor this into their calculus, but Chuck Schumer did last March. He mentioned he did not want to see a shutdown under President Trump. And if you think back to President Obama when he was shutting down the mall and the veterans memorials and things like that, this has always been used by the president as a political tool. And in a shutdown, you hand the keys to the administration. And those of us who are advocates for more control from the legislative branch know that basically a shutdown is to say, okay, we're abdicating our responsibility, and here are the keys, Mr. President. And I'm not sure that the Democrats will like shutdown 2.0 from President Trump.
How long do you think this goes on, Senator?
Well, I've sadly been part of a lot of these. There is no momentum right now towards it ending, if that makes sense. So that changes quickly. You know, that could change quickly. My guess is we're well into next week before people start having serious conversations. I hope we can resolve it quickly, but I think people ought to buckle up and expect this one to be a little bit longer.
Senator, just pivoting back to the October 7th commemoration next week and the news that Hamas has agreed to some of President Trump's Gaza peace plan. Your reaction to those reports, and how do you handicap this at this point?
Well, I think, first of all, like, hats off to the president. Nobody has tried as hard as he's trying to bring peace to the region, and nobody's had as much success, not just here, but throughout other parts of the region with the Abraham Accords. So personally, I want to give the president a little bit of space and realize the degree of difficulty is off the charts. So he's not going to get this perfect the first time, and it's going to take a little bit. But I'm just grateful that he's pushing so hard and that he's made this such a high priority.
Senator John Curtis of the great state of Utah. Thank you, sir. We appreciate
Thanks,
you being here.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.